Greetings, dear beautiful spirit soul that you are. Of course, beyond all that, I just want to acknowledge you, how magnificent you are, and every single living entity is, and that we're already unified. We're just acknowledging that, and we're also individuals. And we acknowledge that that is the greatness of variety because it's who we are. My topic, having more of the sweetness of life. Having more. See, we tend to always want more. Just like I don't say bless you, be less you. You have to look at what you hear, notice what you're saying and hearing, because this is how the mind picks it all up. It takes it all in, and it makes it all the same, you see. But it's also the same and difference. But a system is always making everything the same. It's making duplications. That's mechanical, you see. So it can just operate on its own. So just like in gardening, I notice that a lot of the plants have a be fruitful and multiply. So, you know, as I pull certain plants because I don't want them there, people call them weeds, but they're not really weeds. They're just, you know, you don't want them there. And they just tend to all want to keep multiplying. This is what they tend to want to do. It's a program, you might say. So how to have more sweetness. And we tend, you know, how that sugar thing, and if you take a look at way back when that manufactured sugar started happening and being sold, you know, a few hundred years ago, that's when a lot of diseases started also. You could notice that, and as you look through that time. So we all want sweetness, and one of the keys is sweet words and sweet thoughts, sweet feelings. I remember how I had this one friend many years ago, and she'd take delight in filleting somebody. I filleted them. It means I just use my words to just take them apart and just knock them down to size, you know. And I don't watch, you know, sitcoms or those kind of things. I don't really do that because I usually do research and such. But anyway, how people talk to each other and the sarcasm. And I grew up with some sarcasm, not a lot, because I really had a really great life. But the sarcasm that was there, and the put down, and realize that even in sarcasm, it's a person is actually saying how they really feel or really think. And what you want to get is why we want more sweetness, so we get addicted to, say, a sugar or something that isn't maybe good for the body or good for the mind, but there's certain sugars that are, just like dates, num num num, grapes, num num num, they're good, and they're good, and they're good, and they're sweet. So how you have more sweetness is actually because you want to have less fear and less harshness and less abuse. And how we get free of that, we have to look at what is the source of the sourness or the pain or the suffering, and you have to see where is it originating from? Where is that? How are we? What are we using that for? What are we doing with that? How and to really own your power. See, we have been so depowered, and just like a ceiling pushing down on our head all the time. So there's barely room to breathe or to move or to do anything. And making, you know, so and however that's done through whatever chemicals or whatever frequencies, how people can like walk into a room and the person is angry and everybody kind of feels it and the emotions change, or oh, this person, well, we want to impress them, and everybody changes, and it's like it's the emotion, you see. In the Vedas it teaches that the nature of the soul is an emotional body. It's a feeling body, and that feelings are divine. Emotions are triggered by thoughts and beliefs and reactions to what is going on, because that's how we are. And when we distort our feelings and our emotions, there is no sweetness, because we ourselves have taken to the life of harshness and cruelty and sarcasm and put downs and nastiness and belittling people. Just like why I like being right here. I really like this tree stump. start really looking and examining things, to really look to see where they are and where are similarities. And this great tree has actually mothered or fathered all of these other trees around. And this was a really big tree according to our time. But look how, as it disintegrates, it's still beautiful. You see, as we call it aging or time, it's still beautiful. And if a person in their mind, the only kind of a tree they could only tolerate or look at is one that is a certain type, a certain size, because we call that good, we aren't perceiving the beauty in all of life, the beauty of that, that how each aspect of this, and how it becomes also soil for other growth, and as you might call it, fertilizer. And when it fell, you see, when it fell down this way, you could still see the remnants of how this tree is still in this form contributing, you see, in the sweetness of life. And when you're judging yourself as too old or too young or too fat or too thin, or this is local traffic. Yeah, the body, and there are roles and functions that we have, yes, and that our true divine nature, and it is an interesting thing in the Vedas, says we're all feminine. And that doesn't mean a body type. It means a quality of being. We are the lovers of the divine. And the divines are our lovers. And it's called Mamata. And that means you are mine and I am yours. And when you are mine and I am yours. And when we are in that, we recognize and we realize our unification, but our nature of who we are and our own individual expressions of that. And that's where you take power back and your control, instead of trying to change the world and everybody else and everything in it to match so that you feel the sweetness, yet you're in the bitterness, the resentment, or any of this in your stuff. You're torturing yourself. Well, I have a good reason for it, but take a look at all of that. Get down to it. All those thoughts, all those are concepts, those are suggestions. That's programming. Discard that. That's not who you are. And you have to have the courage, you see, to really have the sweetness, because we're so taught that the sweetness is something out here, when it's the sweetness of the sweetness of the sweetness of the divine, that we are all part of, that we are, and we all can have that right now, without anyone or anything or any less or any more of anything out there, or what anybody says or thinks. You can have it. It's yours. It's who you are, you see. Sweetness of words instead of nastiness. I tell you, when I started working on the sweetness, it was hard. It's hard. It's hard to be sweet, because a lot of people, they're mean, and then they're nasty because they're hurting and they're angry. They believe their thoughts. They believe the programming. They believe it, and they're in conflict constantly with themselves. And they're taking their own divine energy and just blowing it, dispersing it, and feeling helpless and hopeless and powerless. Take it back. Yes, and that isn't arrogant. You're knowing where it comes from, what you're part of, the reservoir, and being that. There has to be a moment that happens. And then from then on, stand strong in the sweetness of your beingness and start honoring that. And that doesn't mean that you're a doormat. That doesn't mean that you don't know what's going on. It doesn't mean that you're not strong and able. No. It means that you're really in the sweetness of the preciousness, just like of a newborn baby, with the wisdom beyond the ages, beyond the cosmos, to who you really are. The sweetness of the sweet is our beloved. Enjoy.